Hey, good day to you. This is Todd. I am just a regular dude walking in the Word. We are continuing our journey through the book of Esther. We're going to be reading today from Esther 2, verses 5 through 18. Okay? And this is introducing Esther into the whole story and also her cousin, Mordecai. Okay? So, and there's different ways people pronounce these names, but we're sticking with the way that I'm saying it throughout these whole episodes going through the book here. Okay, so we so far, King Xerxes threw a big party, called his queen in, and she refused to stand in front of the drunk guys. Okay, and then as a result of that, she was disposed. She was sent away, and now the king comes back from his battles, and he's like, I sure am lonely. I sure would love to have a queen. Let's read here verse 5, okay? It says, let me get my papers here. Now there was in the citadel of Susa a Jew of the tribe of Benjamin named Mordecai, son of Jair, and the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, who had been carried into exile from Jerusalem by Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, among those taken captive with Jehoiachin, king of Judah. Mordecai had a cousin named Hadassah, whom he had brought up because she had neither father nor mother. Let me stop there. Most likely they had been killed in all that had happened here in the battles when they were taken captive. But so she is there, and Mordecai is there. And this is after the time period where they were allowed to go back into Israel, but they chose to stay here, okay? So Mordecai and Esther are still here in the enemy territory, all right? And so they're in Susa, which is modern-day Iran. The young woman, who was also known as Esther, had a lovely figure and was beautiful. Mordecai had taken her as his own daughter when her father and mother died. When the king's order and edict had been proclaimed, many young women were brought to the citadel of Susa and put under the care of Hegai. Esther also was taken to the king's palace and entrusted to Hegai, who had charge of the harem. She pleased him and won his favor. Immediately he provided her with her beauty treatments and special food. He assigned to her 7 female attendants and selected from the king's palace and moved her and her attendants into the best place in the harem. Okay. Esther had not revealed her nationality and family background because Mordecai had forbidden her to do so. Every day he walked back and forth near the courtyard of the harem to find out how Esther was and what was happening to her. Okay. Remember, God is in control of this, and they were supposed to be going back to Israel, so they weren't following God's plan. But God can still use, when we make a bad decision, God can still use that bad decision, okay? And so you're going to see Mordecai, he's like, Esther would be a good candidate for a queen, or end up being in the harem. And so he gets her in there, okay? I wouldn't want my daughters to be have that happen to them, but Mordecai does. So let's see what happens. But you're going to see throughout this whole thing that God is still in control. Throughout the whole book, he has a plan for everything that happens, even though some decisions are bad here. Verse 12, before a young woman's turn came to go into the King Xerxes, she had to complete 12 months of beauty treatments prescribed for the women, 6 months with oil of myrrh, and 6 with perfumes and cosmetics. And this is how she would go to the king. Anything she wanted was given to her to take with her from the harem to the king's palace. And so it takes a year to prepare to go to the king, to be with him for the night. Okay. Verse 14, in the evening she would go there, and in the morning return to another part of the harem to the care of Sheshbazzar, the king's eunuch, who is in charge of the concubines. She would not return to her king unless he was pleased with her and summoned her by name. Okay? And keep in mind, this whole book is showing how women are treated just a little higher than slaves in this time. So basically, she would come in, she would spend a year preparing for this one night. She would go in, and then the next day, and be with the king. The next day, she would come out, and she wouldn't go back to the same place she was. She would be now a concubine of his. Okay? Yeah. So then, verse 15. When the turn came for Esther, the young woman of Mordecai had adopted, the daughter of his uncle Abihail, to go to the king, she asked for nothing other than what Haggai, the king's eunuch who was in charge of the harem, suggested. And Esther won the favor of everyone who saw her. She was taken to King Xerxes in the royal residence in the 10th month, the month of Tebeth, in the 7th year of the reign. Now the king was attracted to Esther more than any of the other women, and she won his favor and approval more than any of the other virgins. So he set a royal crown on her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. And the king gave a great banquet, Esther's banquet, for all his nobles and officials. He proclaimed a holiday throughout the provinces and distributed gifts with royal liberality. Okay? We're going to stop there today. So you just saw in that passage there how Esther kind of really won the beauty contest and pleased the king. And then she's chosen out of all these different women. So she's chosen, and that's how the story ends at this point. She is now queen, and they had a festival and stuff like that to celebrate that. So let's see what happens as she is now queen. And no one knows she's a Jew, okay, except for Mordecai. So let's see how that plays out. Thanks for watching. I'm just a regular dude walking in the Word, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow as we continue our journey through the book of Esther. Lord's blessing. I'll see you then.